Hey friends, it's Miss Long, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about measurement today. First, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about centimeters, which are really small little units that we can use to measure small things. So this is a centimeter cube. And I like to always help kids think about something on their body that's about the size of a centimeter so that you can make estimates, make a guess of how many centimeters it would take to cover something, and just so you have an idea always in your mind about what a centimeter is like. So if you look at the width of your pinky nail, that is about a centimeter. So if I were to put this little cube on my pinky, it's about the same size. So this is a body benchmark for a centimeter. You can always think about your nail on your pinky finger being like a centimeter. So if I asked you to estimate or guess how many centimeters it would take to cover the length of my pencil, you could use your body benchmark to kind of help you think through that. How many times do you think it would take me to put my pinky on here to cover the length of my pencil? Okay, and you could make a guess that way. These little centimeter cubes are awesome. They're an awesome tool for measurement when we're first learning about it because we can lay an object down and then we can put centimeter cubes, we can line them up starting with the edge of our object, and we can line them up and see how many it would take to cover the length of the object. So I'm going to move my camera down so you guys can see what I'm doing. So do you see how I'm laying the centimeter cubes? So they're touching, and I'm just going to line them up. But what happens is when I'm trying to do this, my pencil keeps moving, the centimeter cubes keep moving. It's kind of hard to do it. I can do it, but it's just taking a little bit of work, and it's not a very efficient way to measure. So that's why rulers were created, which is a really awesome tool to help us measure things a lot more efficiently and accurately than by trying to lay down the same unit over and over and over again. So what they did on the ruler was this side is the centimeter side. So each little square here is a centimeter. And so these cubes will fit on here perfectly, but I don't have to keep laying these down and bumping my pencil and trying to line them all up. I can simply just use the ruler instead. So a really good thing to remember is that a centimeter is about the size of your pinky nail. Okay, so now let's move on to talk about the inch. An inch is another small unit of measure. This is an inch tile. So here's the centimeter cube, and here's the inch. So which one is bigger? The inch. Inches are still small units, but they're bigger than centimeters. So if I wanted to cover the length of this pencil using inches, I'm going to move my camera down again. This is going to be a little easier because I'm not going to need as many inches to cover this as I would centimeters. I still have to line them up really carefully. They still keep moving and bumping each other, but I don't need as many of these, so it's a little bit easier to measure the length of my pencil. So I want to go from tip to tip. So about how many inches long is my pencil? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. But a really cool tool is the ruler. And this side of my ruler is inches. And it says it right here, if you can see it, inches. And each little spot on this side is an inch long. So this is a really nifty tool when we're trying to measure something. It's a lot more efficient to just lay my pencil down and use the ruler to measure than it is to use the little tiles. But if we're thinking about body benchmarks, I always tell kiddos from the tip of your thumb to about your knuckle, that is about an inch. Okay, so if you're thinking about having to guesstimate or estimate how many inches long something is, you could think about how many times would you have to put from your knuckle to the tip of your thumb down to cover the length of that object. So if I had to guess, I could try to guess how many times it would take me to lay my thumb down to measure the length of my pencil. Okay, so let's review that really quick. A centimeter is like your pinky, like the width of your pinky nail, and an inch is like from the tip of your thumb to your knuckle. That's a good body benchmark to think about what an inch is. Now, a ruler has 12 inches on it. 12 inches is actually the same as a foot. 12 inches make up 1 foot. So this ruler is 1 foot long. So if I wanted to measure an earring or a paper clip or something tiny, it would be better for me to use centimeters or inches, a small unit of measure. If I wanted to measure something bigger, maybe like the length of a book, this would be a really good tool to use to measure the length of a book. If I wanted to measure something bigger, like a school bus or the length of my driveway, would I want to lay down all of these centimeter cubes? That would take a long time. And you know how we talk about mathematicians like to be efficient and they like to do things that are accurate, but that they don't take a lot of time. So that wouldn't be a really good tool to use. Neither would these inch tiles, because it would take me so many of these to measure the length of my driveway or a school bus. But if I were going to use feet, this would be a better unit of measure. But an even better unit would be something called a yard. And this is a yardstick. I don't know, I bet you guys have probably seen one of these somewhere before. And I always tell kiddos, a yard is like the length of an adult leg. So from their hip to the floor, that's about the length of a yard. Let's see if I can show you guys. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. So if I put this at my hip, it's touching the floor right now. So it's going from my hip all the way down to the floor. So a yard is actually made up of 3 feet. So if I took 3 rulers and if I laid them, one here, and then one here, and one here, it would cover the length of a yardstick. So there are 3 feet in a yard. So if I wanted to measure a school bus or my driveway, a yard, using yards would be a better choice because it's a bigger unit of measurement. I wouldn't need as many of these to cover the driveway or the school bus as I would of a foot or an inch or a centimeter, okay? So I like to help kids think about body benchmarks. So let's review it again so you can always remember. A centimeter is about the width of your pinky. An inch is like from the tip of your thumb to your knuckle right there. That's about an inch. A foot is the length of a ruler. This is also, you can think of this as like from your wrist to your elbow. That's about a foot. Yours probably not quite because you're a little smaller because you're still little and you're still growing. But for an adult, from their wrist to their elbow is about a foot. Okay? And then a leg is like a yard or a meter. Those are about the size of a human leg. So if you're asked something like, what would you use? What unit of measure would you use to measure a paperclip? You would probably go with centimeters because a paperclip is small and so are centimeters. If you were asked to measure the length of a pencil, you would want to use probably centimeters or inches because those are small units and a pencil is small. But as we start to get bigger, maybe I want to measure the width of a bookshelf. I might use feet. So this is a foot long. So I might want to measure how many feet wide is that bookshelf. If I were asked to measure something bigger, like how far is it from one side of the playground to the other, I certainly wouldn't want to use centimeters or inches or even feet to do that because it would take so many to cover the length. So if I were asked to measure something really big, I would want to use a tool, something like a yardstick or a meter stick that's about the length of a human leg, okay, from their hip to the floor. So hopefully those body benchmarks will help you when you're trying to decide which unit of measurement would be the most appropriate to use to measure different objects. Okay, so if you're measuring small things, you're going to want to use small units. If you're measuring big things, you're going to want to use bigger units. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and I will see you guys soon.